Hello, my name is Doug. I go by Fiero Doug on the forums. I wanted to make a little FujiNet for Dummies video. A lot of you are now getting your FujiNet 1.0s, and a lot of you may have not been following along with the whole process that the FujiNet team has been developing this awesome product for our Atari 8-bit computers. So I wanted to go through a little bit of what this unit is and how to use it. So first of all, if you just got your FujiNet, you want to plug that into your Atari. In my case, I have it plugged into my Atari 800 XL. And then on the other plug on the back of the FujiNet, I have all my other SIO peripherals plugged in. In my case, I have like a 1010 program recorder, a 1020 printer, and I have two 1050 drives and an Atari 850, and also a dot matrix printer back there. The FujiNet will work with all those other peripherals. You don't even need to turn the FujiNet off. The way this works, FujiNet on boot up, it will look for any other SIO peripherals that are on, and if it finds any, it will go directly to those and FujiNet will not boot. If it does not see any other SIO peripherals, then it will boot the FujiNet and you will come into this config screen that you see on the screen right here. So okay, you just got your FujiNet, you plugged it in. Before you turn on your computer, you're going to want to get this set up to your Wi-Fi. So what you want to do, there's three buttons on the top, and from left to right they are A, B, and C. You also have three LEDs. The first button, which is the A button on the left, a short press is your disk swap button. I'll show you that in a second. And then a long press will enable Bluetooth. So if you hold that down, you'll see the blue light here, the second light. Will be blue, and that means the Wi-Fi is enabled if you want to use that at default. The FujiNet default is Bluetooth off, so you'll never see that blue light come on. The light under the A button here is the Wi-Fi light, so that will always be lit up white, and that means the Wi-Fi on the ESP32 is working. And the third light here is orange, and that will blink anytime there is SIO activity through the FujiNet. The B button is the one that we want right now. If we hold this button down and then turn on the Atari, that will reset the config program so that we can enter our Wi-Fi and our Wi-Fi password. So let me do that right now. The B button, I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to turn on the computer. And you'll get a whole list of all the Wi-Fi's in your area. In my case, here is the one that I want to use, and now it'll say enter password. So I will put my password in there and hit enter, and now it will load into the config program. So here's what will come up. Everything will be empty. This top section in here is your TNFS host list, and down here are your drive slots, so your virtual drives for disk drives number 1 through 8. So to start, you have a micro SD plugged into the side of your FujiNet here. You'll want to be able to access that. So you scroll through this by up and down. So what we want to do here is enter the SD card. So we hit E. Here it says edit slots. We want to edit this slot. We hit E. And for the SD card, you simply type SD and hit enter. Now, if I hit enter again, that will show me everything that's on my SD card. To go back to the config menu, hit escape, and now I want to put my local server in. So hit enter, and now this is my local TNFS server, which happens to be on this Windows computer that I have sitting right next to my Atari here. So this little box right here is my local TNFS server, and that is linked to a file on my computer that I called FujiNet Doug. So anything that I drag and drop into this FujiNet Doug folder, in my case, is now easily accessible on the Atari. So if you were using an SIO to PC device, this is even simpler than that, because all I have to do is take a file, drop it in a folder on my Windows computer, and now I can access it over the Wi-Fi network and load it right on my Atari. So let's load something. I'll load a game here. So I'll select the game that I want, in this case, Mr. Robot. I'll hit enter. I'll hit enter again to put this in drive slot number 1. Hit return because I want to only read only. If I hit W, that means that I can read write, and I don't want to do that because then I could overwrite something. And now we're ready to go. So to reboot is option. So I'm going to hold down the option button on my Atari 800 XL in this case because I want to bypass the internal basic because this is a machine language game. So I'll hold this down, and now it is going to boot up the game. We'll see that coming up in just a second. And there we go. The game I just loaded from my Windows computer over the Wi-Fi. So now we want to go back to config the third button here, which I haven't talked about yet, the C button. This is the hard reset of the FujiNet. So if I press that button, you'll see the FujiNet lights blink, reboot, turn the Atari off, and turn the Atari back on, and we will go back to the config program. And there we go, back to config. Okay, I've added a couple other TNFS servers that are pretty important that you'll want to grab. So you can either pause the video and type these into your host list. First we have Atari apps at Errata Online. There's a lot of great stuff on there. This is Thomas's stuff. He has all kinds of stuff on that. You'll also want fujinet.online. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Thomas has put the HomeSoft collection of games on his TNFS server. You'll definitely want to grab that. And then Mr. Robot has a great TNFS server that he just started working on. It has a bunch of community stuff on it and a whole host of applications and games as well. So that's another one that you will want. Now the other thing that you'll need to do as soon as you get your FujiNet is set up some things on the web server. So what you'll want to do is hit C for config, and you'll see an IP address here. In my case 10.0.0.35. So if I go to my computer here, my Windows machine in my case, and open up a web window and type 10.0.0.35, that is going to bring up the FujiNet web server. And in here is all network information, hardware. It'll show you what firmware your FujiNet is currently on. And then we have our printer. We have all these different printers to select, which is great. So you'll, like for the printer, select what printer you want and make sure you hit save. And now that printer's saved, you can change the printer port. You can change the SIO speed. You can use high speed SIO. I prefer to use my Ataris at normal speed, so I don't touch that. You also want to set your time zone. In my case, I am in New Jersey, so I will hit American Eastern. Again, make sure to hit save. We also have the mini maze info there, and then here is the other new one. This is for the enable the rotation sounds. So what this is let's say you're playing a multiplayer game and you want to swap discs. You need to go to disc 2. To do that, you do a short press on button A, and if you have the enable rotation sounds going, when you hit that and it goes to drive 2, conveniently Sam will say disk drive 2. I'll show you that in a little bit. So that's how you get up to the web server for the web page for your FujiNet. To get out of the config on the FujiNet, just hit escape and then it'll bring you back to the host list. Alright, so the next thing you're going to need to do, and probably going to need to do often, as you'll see, the updates for the FujiNet firmware happen quite often. So you'll want to go to fujinet.online, click on download, and grab the FujiNet flasher for your particular computer that you use. I happen to use Windows, but there's also a Mac OS and a Linux. Once you download that, you'll want to open that as an administrator. In my case, on Windows, I right-click it, run as administrator. Yes, I want to allow it. And here is the FujiNet flasher. So we'll need to set this up. So the first thing to do is power down your FujiNet. Make sure there's no power going to your FujiNet. Grab a USB cable and plug that into your FujiNet. You'll see the FujiNet boot. And you'll need to know what COM port that is on. So you can open up your device manager, or in my case, it is the only thing that I have plugged in. So I'll go to serial port, and you see COM10. COM10 is my FujiNet. And now we're ready to go. All you have to do is hit Flash FujiNet firmware, and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff scroll through the console here. And after a little while, it'll say FujiNet Flash completed, which means you are done and your FujiNet now has the newest firmware on it. You can close the flasher and disconnect the USB cable from your FujiNet and power your Atari back up. And it will save all the TNF host lists and your Wi-Fi information. It'll save all that and it'll come back up as normal. And we're back into the FujiNet config. So right now let's go and load another game, but this time instead of loading one from my local TNFS server on my computer, which is sitting right here, let's load something from across the country. So I am on Atari Errata Online. I'm going to load, in this case, let's load up Mule. We could just pop it right on top of what was there. It'll erase the Mr. Robot that we had in there before. Hold down the Option key to bypass Basic, and we will load up Mule from a TNFS server on the other side of the country, or wherever Thomas lives. I forget where he lives, but it's not anywhere near New Jersey. And it's going to load just as fast as if I had this Mule disk in my disk drive. Alright, now I want to get out of this game again. The C button, the button on the right, I'm going to hit that to reset the FujiNet. I'm going to turn the Atari off and turn the Atari back on, which will bring me back to config. Alright, so now I don't want to use the FujiNet. I want to, let's say, use my Ultimate cart. I'm going to reset the FujiNet, which I don't even need to do because I can just turn the computer off. I'm going to turn the computer off. I'm going to put my Ultimate cart in. The FujiNet, I leave it on. There's no need to turn it off. I have my Ultimate cart plugged in. I'm going to turn on the computer. And you see the Ultimate cart comes up. And that is because the FujiNet saw that there's a cartridge plugged in, so the FujiNet won't boot and you can use your Ultimate cart. Same with your disk drives. I have the computer off now. I'm going to turn on my disk drive number 1, my Atari 1050. And I'm going to throw a disk, a 5 1/4 floppy into my 1050. Let that spin up. Alright, now I'm just going to turn on the Atari as I normally would. And now I am loading from my 1050 disk drive. The FujiNet is on. It does not conflict. There's no problem. Except that I forgot to hold down the Option button to load up Jumpman. No fault of the FujiNet. That was me. So there we go. You can still use all your other peripherals, no problem. All right, let me show you my favorite feature of FujiNet, which is the print to PDF function. This is a very useful thing. Even though I have real printers here, sometimes I don't want to muck around with them. Print to PDF is the one thing that I was looking forward to the most with FujiNet. So really simple, I'm using the FujiNet web server here, making sure I have my printer selected. I have Atari 1025, which is what I want in this case. So I have a program, a basic program up here. Let me list it and show you. I have this here. So let's say I want to print this. Let's print it. All those beeps and boops are the FujiNet printing net. So now on my FujiNet web server here, right here in the printer section, it says click to download your current printout. So if I click on that, it's going to go download a PDF. And if I open that PDF, there is my listing. And now if I hit print and print, I have a laser printer sitting up here, which is hooked up to my Windows machine. Once that warms up, we're going to have a nice printout from a virtual Atari 1025 in this case. There we go. There's my listing. Printed out, all ready to go. And another cool feature is you can create a new disk. So let's say I want to put a disk on my local TNS server. You see there's a N for new, hit new. For the name, we'll just put test. And then for the size, you can put any size disk. I just want to make a regular 90K disk. Are you sure? Yes, why not? And now we'll mount that to, let's see, we'll mount that to drive 2, because in drive slot 1 I'm going to need a DOS, so I'll throw DOS 2.5 in slot 1, because that disk that I just made is going to be unformatted, so I need to format it. So you see now I have DOS 2.5 in virtual disk 1, and I have the blank disk that I just made by using the new feature in drive number 2. I'm going to reboot the computer, which will boot into DOS. Okay, so I have DOS 2.5 up. If you recall, I have in drive number 2, I have that disk, that new disk that I made that's unformatted, that I called test, in drive 2. So the first button, the A button, is the disk swap button. I'm going to press that button. Sam just said disk 2. You saw the Bluetooth light blink. And now disk 2 is up. So if I hit disk directory, there should be nothing on this disk. Sure enough, 00 free sectors. So let's format this disk. I made it a 90K disk, so I'm going to format single. Which drive? It's drive 1. Tap yes to format. And let's make sure that's formatted. Do the disk directory. And yes, now we have 707 free sectors. So that's how you make a new blank disk on your FujiNet. It is that simple and extremely useful. And the last feature that I'm going to show here, which is the other feature that I use all the time, is, of course, why would you have a FujiNet Wi-Fi without BBSing? So let's BBS in a couple different ways to do it. If you want to grab a comms thing, you can get it on comms on the errata online, and grab modem programs. Put that in drive 1. I got to eject my test disk from drive 2 and reboot the computer. It just loaded the R handler, and now I like to use Bob term, so I'm going to load Bob term. And now Bob term's loaded in, and you can go on to whatever BBS you like to frequent. And and it works really nice over the Wi-Fi. You'll hear the beep once this all loads. And there we go, we're all ready to BBS. Reboot the FujiNet one more time using that C button. Go back to config. Alright, and that's all I wanted to show in this video. Just a little video to show you how to use your FujiNet. If you haven't bought a FujiNet yet and you've been on the fence, I hope I've kind of shown some of the things. I've only shown the tip of the iceberg on what the FujiNet could do. I just happened to show some of the simpler things to do with the FujiNet and some of the stuff you'll use every day, like loading ATRs, and if you want to print something, if you want to go on the BBS, if you want to make a new disk and copy files, or add basic programs that you're doing into a new disk. You can do it all right on the FujiNet. In my opinion, if you have an Atari 8-bit computer that you use, you need a FujiNet. It's pretty much an SD drive replacement, an SIO to PC replacement. It's just a great device. Hope this has been helpful. Leave a comment in the comments below if you have any questions. Obviously, all the information is either on the FujiNet wiki, fujinet.online website, and we have a humongous threads, multiple threads, hardware discussion and software discussion on Atari Age. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. See you guys later.